Welcome to the Karen Kenney Show.
Hey, you guys, welcome to the Karen Kenney Show. I hope you're having a fantastic day. It looks like it's going to be hopefully another warm and sunny sucker out there today. So yesterday, I'm just going to dive right in, a little storytelling. So yesterday I went to the beach with my sister. And while I was there, I got there a little bit earlier. I wanted to just get easy packing, get a good spot on the beach, set up my stuff or whatever. And while I was at the beach, I was thinking, like a lot of things, this show is inspired by like life, just like day-to-day life and stories and things that happen in day-to-day life. And really, it's this like combination of spirituality and storytelling. Me being both a writer and a storyteller and, a speaker, but also being a spiritual mentor, et cetera, et cetera. I kind of look at the world through this curiosity lens, right? So I'm always just kind of paying attention. And it occurred to me yesterday when I was at the beach, how much of like being at the beach is like, there's a lot of elements of the beach that are like metaphors for life. And one of the first things I noticed, and we're going to get into this. So the title of this episode is called like Riding the Waves, Riding the Waves. And we're going to get there, but stay with me, buckle up. Buckle up for safety. Come on the ride with me. Let's get in the water together. Okay. So first, one of the things I noticed is just how different people prepare. So remember, everything in this conversation today is like a metaphor. Like the beach is like life. Okay. So all the ways that different people prepare. So you have people who are like coming down the beach who are like, they've got everything. I mean, they've even got like little trolleys, little wagons. Oh my God. I saw so many people hauling so much gear. I mean, they have like, they have the tents, they have the umbrellas, they've got like the chairs and the coolers and the toys and the cribs and like, oh my God, 8 different kinds of sun lotion, right? So you have the people who are like hyper prepared, like wicked prepared. And I was howling laughing because so many people like rolled by us with their caravan of goods. And I was like, oh my God, are they going to set up a tent and start selling their wares? There's like so much stuff here. But of course, there's like 3 kids in tow and the mother-in-law, the grand, like it's a whole family. It's a whole ordeal, right? And then there's some other guy. Oh my God. The difference is humans are so fascinating to me. Then there's another guy. He's barely got like a bath-sized towel just thrown in the sand. And he's got like a market basket, like plastic bag, and it's got like some Doritos in it. Like, I don't even know if there's like any water, beverage in sight to wash them down. And he's like kind of haphazardly like slathered with like white, suntan lotion, but it's not in all the places, just like in some of the places. And half his body's in the sand. And I was just like, oh my God. And this is a guy that just like rolls out. He's like, I'm just going to the beach, man. I'm just gonna like throw my towel down. And he's just like there. And it's so fascinating how some people like over prepare, some people under prepare. I think I'm kind of in the middle, right? Like I want to be comfortable, so I have a few towels, I got a chair, I got my snacks, I got my book, I got some suntan lotion so I don't burn my ass to a crisp. But it's just like fascinating watching how people like prepare for the beach, aka also in some ways prepare for life. I also notice how everybody has a different approach to the beach, right? Like some people like to be really close to the water. Some people are like, keep me closer to the bathrooms. Some people are napping the whole time. Some people are reading the whole time. Some people get up and go for long walks. Some people talk on their phones in inappropriately loud voices for long periods of time. It's just like amazing. Like they're just not aware of their surroundings. And some people are very thoughtful, right? They keep their stuff neat. I even saw a couple in front of us who I assume, I can imagine that they probably have a place at the beach, that they're there a lot because there are the people who tend to come early and then they stay for a few hours and then they get out. And I'm like, oh, these are people who like do the beach a lot, like they get this. but somebody had left trash like around them, behind them, like where they had set up. It wasn't their trash. And he thoughtfully, when he got up, he picked it up, even though it wasn't his and he didn't make the mess. And I just really noticed that as well, right? So all of this is like really fascinating. And here's the thing, like a little aside for a second. If you just pay attention in your life, if you just choose to go through life with a little bit more curiosity and like paying attention to your fellow man, like you'll see these patterns of things all over the place. I mean, this is the kind of like what I do for a living, but I think it's like, it's not that I do these things because I do them for a living. I think I do this for a living because that's who I really am. Like me being curious and me paying attention and me like noticing things. That's just like my nature. You know what I mean? And it's come in really handy. Let me say this. Part of it is nature, part of it is nurture. Some of it was created because of my childhood environment, like my hyper awareness, that's like a survival mechanism. But I've also used my trauma. I always say the things that were my trauma in a lot of ways, I've spun them into gold, right? I've used them. I've used them to be helpful for myself and hopefully other people, hence this podcast. Okay. But the other thing I started to notice is how much the water, right, the ocean is also like life. And one of the things that I noticed, because, when we go to the beach, almost inevitably, like when we were kids, there was kind of like this unwritten rule by my stepfather. Like, if you go to the beach, your ass gets in the water. It doesn't matter how cold it is. It doesn't matter if you don't want to go in. If he drove you all the way to the beach, if you go to the beach, you get in the water, right? So it's like, okay. And so I mean, and as an adult now, I have a choice, right? It's one of the beautiful things about being an adult. And a lot of this episode is also about that, like our ability to choose, like how we're going to respond and react, right? So I went to the beach, and if it's fucking freezing, I'm an adult. You're not going to force me to go in. I don't live by this code that was, pushed on me as a child. But today, I was with my sister and we always have fun. So I was like, all right, like in the water. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to get in. So we got in the water. And while I'm standing there, I noticed that like the waves just keep coming. The waves, like life, they just keep coming. They are not interested in our opinion. They are not interested in our preferences. They don't care. Like the ocean, like life, is not asking us, like, do you want a more gentle or calm surf? Do you wish that the water was warmer? Do you wish that there was less seaweed and like no jellyfish? Like, no, that is not happening. Waves, like life, are just coming at us. It is just coming at us. And then we have to decide, right? We have to decide. Waves are like, hey, we are just happening. This is how it is. There's no controlling it or changing it. This is how it is. But you, dear person in the water, you get to decide, or not in the water, you get to decide how you want to respond. How you respond is up to you. So my sister and I are out in the water, and you know how it is. You first get in the Atlantic Ocean and you're like, Jesus Christ, it's like freezing. And then either you start to go a little numb so you don't notice, or you acclimate and you're like, okay, this is fine. I'm in here. So we're out there and we're bopping around in the waves, like we're having like fun and stuff. And one of the things that naturally happen is when the waves keep coming in, like you got to get a plan. Like you've got to either come up with a plan or you are going to sort of like pay the price. So we kind of started playing this game when as a wave was coming in based on the size and its distance to us, like where we were in the water, we would look at each other and one of us would either yell over, like you got to go over it, like bob up and like go over it, right? Or under, like, because we're like, there's no way. If we just stay standing here, we're going to get slammed. And then you would like dive under the wave, right? Or you would go, we would go, oh shit, because we knew that our plan had fallen apart. And sometimes even our best plan, like just got us knocked on our ass. And we would like come up from underwater with like our hair plastered all over our face and maybe one of your boobs practically popping out of your bathing suit. But we would be cracking up laughing as we bobbed up after this up to the surface, right? So we'd get knocked on our ass. So it was like over, under, or like just knowing like, oh shit, we're going to get knocked on our ass. But here's the thing, you get knocked on your ass and then hopefully like you find your way back up to the surface. Okay. But my point is this, we had a choice of how we wanted to respond to what was coming at us. And this is just like life, right? Like stuff is going to come at us. It's not going to ask our permission. It doesn't care whether we want it or to happen or not. The death, the disease, the divorce, the diagnosis, the disappointment, all the different things that happen in this human experience, they're just going to happen because life is lifing, people are peopling, and that's just how it is. But we always have a choice how we want to respond. And we have some tools that we can collect along the way that become very helpful, and we're going to get there. So I realize, okay, we have a choice of how we want to respond to like what's coming at us. We also have a choice as to whether or not we are just going to try to play it completely safe and like never get in the water, just never get in. We're just going to stand on the sand and we're never actually going to get our feet wet. And as I was standing there yesterday, something occurred to me, and I turned to my sister and I said, hey, I don't think I ever saw Auntie so and so like get in the water. Like, did you ever see her like really like get in the ocean? Because my recollection is that she always just stood on the shore. She never actually got in. She wouldn't go in like deeper than like ankles. Like she would just stay on the shore. Like she didn't play in the water. She didn't like she just didn't get in and have fun and like ride the waves, you know what I'm saying? And when I was thinking about this kind of like riding the waves, I was like, it obviously, and like basically, you're also getting a peek into how my brain works, right? Like how these episodes kind of come together. Because while I'm standing there thinking about, you know, one of my aunties who I'm like, I don't have any vision of her ever being in the water with us, playing, riding the waves, goofing around, whatever. And this riding the waves concept is a spiritual concept, which is so fantastic. Which, hello, here is the episode and what I want to share with you. And thank you for, if you're still listening, if you can still hear the sound of my voice, thank you for coming along and not bailing when you're like, she's just telling stories, like get to the point. So here we are. This idea of riding the waves, the first time I heard of this concept was when I went to Kripalu. So Kripalu is one of the largest spiritual centers and yoga centers in the United States. It's out in the West. It's out in Western Massachusetts in the Berkshires. Okay. And I lived at Kripalu for over a month when I went to do my YTT, my yoga teacher training there back in 2001. So a wicked long time ago, right? And I heard this concept when I was living there, and riding the waves was one of the answers, right? So like we would have like our daily, like get up at 5:30, go do yoga at 6, blah, blah, blah. We would have these things. And then during the actual training, during the YTT, and doing a yoga class first thing in the morning and again in the afternoon, it was part of the training. It's like immersing yourself in the experience, in the practice of yoga, because your whole life is technically your practice, right? I'm always like, yoga is always showing you you. And that's a story for another day. So this question, the answer, this was an answer to the question about, and here was the question, like, how can we suffer less? When life is coming at us, when we are faced with these life situations, right? How can we suffer less when we're faced with tough questions and tough situations, right? How do we suffer less when we are faced with tough situations, especially ones that we didn't choose, right? Life is lifing, the waves are coming at us, it's just happening. And the thing is that tough situations, you know, can be any time when things get hard. Like, just think about it. When losses happen, when we feel overwhelmed or anxious, when we don't have enough money to pay the bills, you have a kid who's sick, shit doesn't go as planned, things don't go how you wish they would, hope you would, want them to. And whether that's in a relationship, whether that's with your family, whether that's at work or in your business, like whatever. In these moments when we wish that things were different, when we find ourselves saying things to ourselves like, if only fill in the blank, if only such and such had happened, if only they hadn't done X, Y, and Z, if only I had chosen to do this, if only, you know, right? We know that feeling, those tough situations that we find ourselves in. But one of the things that yoga taught me early on and continues to teach me and continues to reinforce in my knucklehead brain is that we cannot control reality. Like meaning we cannot control life. We can't control life any more than we can stop the waves, stop the ocean from having tides, and stop the ocean from having waves, right? Like the sea is doing what the sea does, and life is doing what life does, and people are doing what people do. A lot of times to our chagrin, a lot of times it's not what we prefer or want, right? But yoga keeps reminding me again and again and again, we do not get to control everything, which is a really annoying reminder when you're kind of a control freak. You know what I'm saying? When you kind of like to control things a little bit. But one of the things I've realized about myself and about control in general, when I think back to that younger part of me that just really tried to control everything, um, my desire to control is really just a symptom of, it's a symptom, but it was also an ego solution to fear. So my desire to control everything was a response to fear, right? And the response was, I'm going to try to control everything because if I can just get this to look a certain way or feel a certain way or be a certain way, then I can relax, then I can feel safe. My nervous system can take a breath and be like, okay, we're safe. I just have to control everything and make everything familiar and control the environment and the people around me. And first of all, it's exhausting, right? Even just hearing that. Those of you who need to control or like to control, double amen hands if you can relate if any point you've been a little controlling, because when you really get honest with ourselves, though, there's two emotions, of course, in Miracles teach us. There's love or there's fear. And so much, right? So much of how we are responding and reacting to life, it's from that place of fear. And I would say more so reacting to life. I always say, like, I react out of fear, but I respond from a place of love. And it's often people who are anxious or afraid or insecure who are trying to control everything. And again, double amen hands if you can relate to that. And like, let's just be honest. Don't we all at some point experience those feelings of fear or anxiety or worry or trying to manipulate a thing because you want it to be a particular way, because then you'll feel safer in your nervous system and in your body and inside of you, right? At some point in our life, we have all experienced this. And if you haven't, like, you're like a unicorn, I guess. So like, lucky you. But I can say for myself and for many people that I know and that I have worked with, we all experience those feelings at some point. But just like, this is the good news, now we're getting down into it. Just like we have useful tools that we use in the ocean, right, to stay safe and to survive, we also have tools in life, and we're going to get to that. But it's here just because I just feel like here are some important things to know, especially during the summer and if you're going to go in the sea. These are some of the things that I've been taught and that I have practiced that have been very helpful. Number one, do not turn your back on the sea. Like I tend to like go backwards. Like I walk backwards so I can see the ocean, usually as I'm walking out of the ocean, till I can get a point where I'm like, okay, now I'm at ankle depth and I'm safe to like turn around. I'm not going to get surprised and knocked on my ass by something, right? Because I like to know what's coming at me. I like to face things. I like to see what's happening and what's going on. So don't turn your back on the sea, because that's a lot of times when a wave comes out of nowhere and knocks you on your ass. Number two, orient yourself to the land. Orient yourself to the land. And so for me, this is about like orienting myself to the people, the places, the practices, the things that ground me, like where home is, where safety lies, like orient yourself, right? That's one of the things that happens when you get knocked on your ass. You get discombobulated. You're a little like confused and like you don't know where the shore is, right? So like orient yourself to the land. When you get sucked out, when you feel yourself getting sucked out, this is again, physically and metaphorically, when you feel yourself getting sucked out or undertow, when you're pulled into that undertow. Sometimes the undertow is an addiction, a habit, sometimes it's literally the water, the ocean, but sometimes it's like an addiction. It's a habit, it's a pattern, it's a way of being, it's a relationship or a group of people that are no longer good for you. And you're getting pulled into their drama and their trauma and their bullshit, right? Swim parallel to the shore, especially if you're in the ocean, right? And this is how people drown, right? The undertow is very strong and it's pulling you backwards, and you keep fighting and fighting, and you're trying to swim in the current. You're trying to swim forward. You're trying to stay in that same place. When you swim parallel to the shore, you literally, right, just need to get a few feet away from, a few feet out of that undertow, and you swim parallel to the shore, and that pulls you out of the undertow. Because a lot of people get sucked into that current, and it is very, very, very strong. And that's how people drown, is they get fatigued and they can't fight anymore and they can't swim and they go under and they drown. And this can happen this can happen in life as well, right? The pull of the thing, the addiction, the drug, the people, the porn, whatever, the gambling, right? It's too much. The overwhelming feeling of the emotions are too much. We swim parallel to shore. We get a little distance. We get out of the undertow. We just need a little bit more. Just get out of the undertow and swim parallel to shore and get a different perspective. Because the mind and the choices and the decisions that got you in that undertow, they are not going to be I always say to my people, like, your best thinking got you here. So we got to try something else. And are you willing to come at something from a different POV, a different point of view, and just get a little perspective, get out of that and swim parallel? Okay. Another thing you can do is call for help. If you know you're in trouble, call for help. Another thing, if you get wicked fatigued, try to float. Try to float. Sometimes it's not about doing more. Sometimes it's about resting. Sometimes it's not about fighting. Sometimes it's about floating, right? Allowing yourself to be buoyant, allowing yourself to be held, allowing yourself to have a rest or just a little break so you can gather more strength if you need it. Here's the other thing. Now we're getting to the hot beat of this. You can also relax and do your best to ride the waves. Ride the waves. Ride the waves, literally, of the ocean back to shore, but also metaphysically, metaphorically, spiritually. We learn how to ride the waves. And in life, when I talk about like ride the wave back to shore, it's kind of like the shore is like coming back home to who you truly are, which is love, which is that eternal thing that is unchanging, right? Which is you are love. No matter what happens, no matter what you do, underneath all of the nonsense and the shenanigans and the traumas and the dramas, there's a part of you that is unchanged. There is a part of you that is not touched by the things of this world. There is a part of you, which is really, to me, it's the whole part, the holy part, the true part, the self, the true self, which is love. So beyond the big sensations and feelings, beyond all the ever-changing emotions, there is the eternal self, which is love. And when we come back to the shore, when we remember that, when we are reminded of who we truly are, when we have people in our life who reflect it back to us, and we remember, oh yeah, I can come back home. I can come back to shore at any time, anytime, anytime. So this riding the waves is a literal concept. It is a literal concept. And again, first time I heard it was when I was at Kripalu. So at Kripalu, we have a tool that and I did a whole show on this. I know I've talked about BRFWA on the show before, but like, repetition is the mother of all learning. I'm not telling it to you because I think you're stupid. I'm not saying it again because I don't think you got it the first time. But for me, and I've been in this game for a long time, but even for me, reminding myself, oh yeah, BRFWA, right? Riding the waves of sensations, of the emotions. This is how we come back to ourselves. This is how we come back to love. This is how we come back to sanity, to our right mind, to our true source, to ourself, to love. This is how we remember that we're not this body being tossed around by the waves of life. That, oh yeah, I'm spirit. Okay. So with BRFWA, BRFWA stands for breathe, relax, feel, watch, allow, right? And we'll get into that in a second. So when we allow ourselves to when we find ourselves in a tough situation, when we find ourselves in a suffering place, here's some things that we can do. Number one, and I'm going to break down BRFWA. We're going to simply be in the present moment, right? Do our best to simply be in the present moment. And remember how I talked about floating? Just soften your grip. Not clench fists. I'm like clenching my fists, making marks with my fingernails in my palms. Not this. It's this. It's like open palms, open, soft grip, open and receptive, right? Let go of expectations. Let go of expectations of how you want it to be, how you like don't try to force the outcome. No controlling, right? Let go of expectations, or at least be willing to let go of expectations. When you cannot let go of an old story or an expectation or a strong feeling, this is when prayer is really, really helpful. And you just say something simply like, please help me. Please help me. I want to let this go. I don't know how. Please help. Right? Just please help. You don't even have to get all fancy and religiously, like, you don't have to be all like, dear God, dear Lord, dear. Sometimes you just say, please help. I'm willing to do this, or help me to be willing to do this. Okay, number 4, just begin to open up your heart and your mind and to shift out, right? To shift out your perspective. Just be willing to be open that there might be a better way. There might be a different way. Because the thing is like when we stop fighting, when that current is pulling us, when we stop fighting, when we allow ourselves to feel, and that's usually what we're resisting in life, is we are resisting feeling our feelings. We are resisting facing that this thing is happening, right? We want it to be different. So much of our suffering comes from the struggle of wanting things to be different than they are, wanting things to feel different than they are. When we allow ourselves to just feel whatever it is we're feeling within any given experience, that can help us to kind of find that equanimity, that buoyancy, right? Whatever life is throwing at us. So if we can find from that foundation place of shifting out of resistance and fighting and that fear and that controlling, and we can kind of just change our awareness, change our willingness to shift out of our feelings of struggling to acceptance, which is like the waves are coming at us. Life is lifing. People are peopling. Like this is happening. And if I stay too attached to the outcome and how I want it to be and how I need it to be in order for me to be happy or safe or whatever, we're going to get in trouble. So BRFWA is a mindfulness technique, right? Again, Kripalu Yoga it taught me. And this is how we learn to ride the waves of life's challenges, ride the waves of like whatever is happening in our lives, okay? Again, it stands for breathe, relax, feel, watch, allow. So let's say you feel anxious or uncertain about a situation that you're facing. Just try this technique. Just try it. Excuse me. And see what happens. I always say to people like, I've gathered a ton of tools. I've gathered a bunch of things to help myself first and foremost. Like I had to go first because I was drowning in the sea of life. Life was coming at me hot and heavy for many, many, many years there. And I needed some help. So I gathered some tools. And now I like to share them with others. And not every tool is going to feel like a home run to everybody. Not every tool is going to be like, this is the one, right? So I like to have a lot of different ways in and a lot of different approaches. But one of the things I use all the time, and I teach in my yoga classes as well, is BRFWA. Okay, so you start to feel a little anxious. You start to feel a little uncertain. You get some fear coming up. You notice yourself, right? Getting a little kooky monkeys upstairs. When you leave, you start to leave your right mind. That's the first thing. Like if you can even notice like, oh my God, I'm feeling really tense. Oh, I'm feeling anxious. I'm feeling this. I'm about to make this decision. I'm about to do this thing. We want to make choices from a place of love, like from a little bit, like get out of that fight and flight, get out of that fear response. And how can I drop into the parasympathetic nervous system response? That place where I can now have access to my curious and creative mind so I can make better choices, right? So number 1 is we want to breathe. We already know, nice full deep inhale through the nose if you can, twice as long, extended exhale through the mouth. Even with a little bit of sound can add help with vagal tone, right, for the vagus nerve. But if we just breathe, ground yourself in the present moment. Notice the quality of your breath. Notice the quality of your inhalations, right? Through the nose if you can, and those twice as long exhalations out through the mouth if you can. When we connect to our breath, I mean, it does a ton of things for the nervous system, slows down the heart rate, gets us into parasympathetic, the relaxation response, right? It does a ton of stuff, but it also helps us to find some equanimity. It helps us to find a little balance. And it's from that place that we can tap into our curiosity, our resiliency, our inner strength, our inner wisdom, right? So, number one, again, breathe, okay? Number two, relax. Relax. When we relax, and I want you to think about this, right? This is how we start to create a little more space inside of us. We shift out of like this foveal vision of like being hyper focused, because like that's what we do when we're in fear. I got to be hyper focused and vigilant about like what. When we shift out into peripheral vision, it's like, and the nervous system calms and the nervous system relaxes. And when we do that, we create space within ourselves and we can release any tension, release any unnecessary like gripping or forcing or fighting. If we can learn to just soften our muscles, a little progressive relaxation, relax your jaw, drop your shoulders, soften your belly, right? Like let your eyes like get a little bit their vision like softer. Like, you know, when you're kind of looking at a puppy or a baby and you're like, oh, baby, oh, sunset, like whatever the thing is, right? Notice how when we physically relax our muscles, deepen our breath, how that also affects your mental experience as well, the mental chatter, the mental activity of your mind. Okay, we've got breathe, we got relax, then we have feel. This is the one that most people struggle with right here. We don't like to feel the hard feelings. We don't like to feel the anxiety or the panic attack. We don't like to feel the discomfort. We don't like to feel the anger. We don't like to feel the hurt, right? It's like, but if we can bring our awareness to the actual details of the physical sensations that are coming up in the body, right? Notice the details of the sensations like, oh, I feel hot. Oh, I feel cold. Oh, it feels like I'm shaking. I feel like I'm gripping. I feel a knot in my stomach. I feel butterflies. I feel like a tightness in my throat. I feel like I'm clenching my jaw, right? Bring awareness to the details of the sensations, to the details of the thoughts, the emotions, right? The mental, like the feelings, and to your memories. And then whatever comes up, try to meet it with curiosity, try to meet it with compassion, try to meet it with an open heart, try to meet it with an open mind. Instead of rushing in with our judgments, I shouldn't be feeling this. This feeling is bad. This anxiety is bad. This needs to stop. This is whatever. Simply be with the sensations of the feelings. Don't fight it. Don't force it. Don't try to kill it. Don't try to push it. Simply do your best to be with it. This is the feeling part. Whatever arises, curiosity, compassion, and an open heart. Remember, this is a mindfulness technique. Okay. Then the next one is watching, what I also sometimes call witnessing. Okay. This is when, like Swami Kripalu, right? The word Kripalu actually means compassion. Swami Kripalu Bapuji has said, right? The highest form of spiritual, physical, the highest form, blah, 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 the highest form of spiritual practice is self-observation without judgment. So when we watch, we want to develop a non-judgmental witness, a non-shaming witness, like a non-judgmental awareness, like be aware, right? Just create non-judgment around whatever is happening. Observe, simply observe yourself, observe your feelings, observe like, you know, how you usually tend to want to react to a thing. Observe the situation as it's unfolding and notice, right? My yoga students know I always say, notice what you notice. Notice what comes up. Notice what comes up as you're fully engaging with your feelings, with your breath, as you're relaxing. Notice what is going on inside of you. So many people, they just run from it. And I always say, like, we have to bear witness. We have to bear witness to ourselves, to those younger parts of ourselves that maybe are being triggered or they're afraid or they're scared, right? Like, stay with yourself. Don't abandon yourself. Be fully with yourself. And then allow. This is the big one, like allow. So how do we allow? A lot of times we use this word like let go, right? Like let go of your desire for things to be a certain way. Let go of the outcome. Let go, let go, let go. If people knew how to fucking let go, they would do it, right? But it's hard. It's hard psychologically for people to let go. So instead, sometimes I'll say, like in this allowing, how about you choose not to hold on to it anymore? Right? How about deciding to not hold on? Just don't hold on anymore. Don't insist. I always say to people, don't insist on keeping these patterns, these habits, these beliefs, these stories. Don't insist on holding on to them anymore. And this is that willingness, right? Surrender into the process. Do your best to let go, to allow, to surrender, to not insisting on holding on to these old things that cause your suffering. Okay? Allow the outcome, whatever it's going to be. Allow it to be there without expectations. Allow things to arise without your expectations. BRFWA is a powerful practice. And it's riding the wave, because when stuff goes down, there's going to be a big wave of sensation, whether that's fear, anger, anxiety, that desire to control, like that desire to fight or flight or run or freeze or flop or whatever, right? To fawn, all the trauma responses. There's a big wave of sensation that comes up in the body and comes up in the mind, and these emotions and the physical sensations. And if we can just hang out there, if we can just breathe into whatever is coming up, that wave that is coming up, ride that sucker right back into the shore. Don't try to, like I always say, so like in the ocean, we're like trying to go over it, go under it, get knocked on our ass. What if we just like rode the wave back into the safety of the shore? Be the love that you are. Right? The big sensation is going to come, meet it with the breath, right? Relax into it, get curious, feel it, watch it and witness it unshamingly. Be kind, be compassionate, and then allow yourself to return. Allow yourself to have no expectations. Allow yourself to be surprised. Allow yourself to be curious. Moving through the world with non-judgment, it's hard because the ego judges like a motherfucker, doesn't it? The ego just I mean, its main gig is to keep you separate and sick and special and suffering, you know? And this is when spirit gets a say. Spirit gets to come in. Those two emotions, love and fear, it's like saying there's two teachers. There's the ego and there's spirit / Holy Spirit, right? Like the inner teacher. That's the voice of love. That's what we want to be riding to the shore. And BRFWA is just one of the tools that we can use to do it. So I hope this day finds you just riding the waves, man, riding the waves, not getting knocked in your ass, right? Not like freaking out, but hopefully you're going to get in the water. You're going to get into your life. You're going to be present. You're going to get a little wet. You're going to play. You're going to have some fun. Yes, you are going to get knocked on your ass, because that is life. Life is lifing. The waves are coming in, right? People are peopling. But we have so many tools, you guys. And remember, one of them is call for help. And this is when, again, right, there's so many people out there. And sometimes your help is unpaid. It's a friend, it's a family member, right? It's your priest. Although I would say if you're tithing, you are in some ways paying. But then there's also coaches and mentors. There's people like me. There's communities like The Nest. There's like yoga classes you can go to, right? There's lots of ways to find help. So use that too if you need to. And you can always find me in the ways that I help at Karen Kenney, Kenney, right? KarenKenney.com. There's a work with me page. There's a page on the Quest one-to-one mentoring. There's a page on my yoga classes. There's a page on hot to hot days. Hot to hot days are like we like they're like chunks of time throughout the day, like a half day or a few hours where we talk over Voxa. It's a voice messaging app. And it's like having a walkie-talkie, and we do spiritual mentoring. We do some coaching. Hot to hot days are a blast. I love them. If you're curious about them, just go to karenkenny.com/work with me. You'll see the button right at the top, and you can learn all about them. Okay, you guys, thank you so much for staying with me, for riding this wave of this episode. I've loved sharing this time with you. I hope it was helpful and beneficial in some way. And if it was, please share it with somebody, right? Somebody who you think could benefit from it. Wherever you go out there today, tomorrow, tonight, whatever, may you leave the people, the animals, yourself, the environment, the planet better than how you first found it. Wherever you go, may you and your energy and your presence and your love and, be a blessing. Just keep riding the waves, my friends. Bye.